I came up with they feed our ecosystem. So, how berries feed the ecosystem? What do we know about berries already? You can just popcorn.
Delicious.
They are delicious. They can be delicious.
They're plant ovaries.
They are plant ovaries. Tell me more about that.
That's all I know.
That's all you know. So fruits in general happen because pollinators come around and pollinate the ovary of the plant, and then that grows into the fruit that we eat. So there's two common types of berries. The first one is what we call a true fruit, which is like a blueberry. They are just one little berry. And I love blueberries. It's one of my favorites, so I use it as an example. It's a true fruit. The other kind is what we call an aggregate. Aggregates are where a flower has multiple ovaries, and each one that is pollinated becomes its own little fruit. So they're all aggregated around the core. And a lot of the berries that we're talking about today either fall in the aggregate category or the true fruit. True fruit. Shout out typical aggregate berries that you see.
Raspberry.
Blackberry, raspberry,
Lupus.
salmonberry, koala berries?
Thimbleberry?
Alalaberry, thimbleberry. I've never heard of alalaberry. You'll have to tell me about that later. What? Jocelyn berry? That's pretty. Tell me about that later too. So, can anyone tell me the purpose of a berry or of a fruit in general, because they are fruits? That is one of the purposes. Purpose, so Anna said protection. Anybody else have any idea besides protection?
Does it also provide nutrients for the seed to grow?
Sort of. That's good. Protection, nutrients, and seed dispersal. Yay! So seed dispersal is the main thing. Seed dispersal. So plants and other mammals in the ecosystem, or other animals in the ecosystem that eat berries, they work together. So they feed the ecosystem by feeding the animals, and then the animals then poop out the berry seeds afterwards, and it keeps the cycle going. So it disperses the seeds. There are certain reasons why we are drawn to berries as a food source. Does anybody want to give it a shot and tell me why we think we're drawn to berries as food sources? Nick?
The sweetness.
The sweetness. So sweetness can tell us, yes, this is good to eat. It provides calories, which we need to survive. So we got sweetness, and then other senses we might use.
They're colorful.
They're colorful, so they're attractive to the eye. Sometimes they're shiny, they're colorful, they're attractive. We try one and it's sweet to eat. There we go. So seed dispersal because they are shiny. They are juicy and sweet. And so that gets the system going. Da, 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 da. So, other things so the berries feed us in more ways than just calories. Did you have a question?
Yeah. How are the seeds not digested?
The seeds are not digested because the outer coating of the seed is very, very high fiber, and so it's like insoluble fiber. It just flushes right out.
Oh, cool.
Anna?
Does it pass through every animal, or are there some animals with stomach acids and stuff actually do destroy the seed?
That's a good question. I do not know the answer. Do you?
Yeah.
Does anyone else?
Is like every animal
An antioxidant. So let's break it down. Anti means like no. Cancel. No. And oxidant. Oxy, I think of oxygen. Anybody know what that?
No, oxygen dentist.
Oxygen dentist? So it's, has anybody heard of what a free radical is? So it's like little pollutants in the air that get onto our skin and can cause things like cancer and other issues. So these kind of like cancel out the free radical.
What is a free radical is a pollutant?
Free radicals are, pollutants in the air that sort of like, whenever I think of free radicals, I think of like this old commercial that was like, ladies who live in the city, like, buy this lotion and this face cream stuff because it helps. It's got lots of antioxidants in it that will stop the aging process and blah, blah, blah. You know, getting to your self-conscious side and your lack of wanting to age gracefully.
I think of like oxidize or like corroding something.
There we go.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like an anti-corrosion.
Anti-corrosion.
I think that's like when things get it's
Like an avocado that you leave out. If it's cut open, it'll turn brown and gross.
Yeah, totally. I was imagining like
Metal.
like oxidizing.
Yeah, like the Statue of Liberty. She's originally brown copper and now she's green because of oxidization. Yeah. Fun fact, salt. Salt causes oxidization in metals. So, antioxidants. They cancel on things that are going to harm you. And a lot of them are anti-cancer, antimicrobial, they're just really good for you. That's probably why they call them superfoods, because they have so many things that are good for our systems. Nutrients. Does anybody remember my lesson on biochromia? I can't remember if this was this one or last one. So can you tell me briefly what biochromia means? It's another word that you can break down. Bio means
Biology.
like life.
Biological life.
Chromia, chrome.
It was the colors, right?
Colors.
Yeah.
So natural colors, natural pigments. Where was I going with that? Oh, the natural pigments can support vitamins and any sort of vitamin deficiency. It helps you with that. Does anybody remember any of the vitamins that are biochromia that we talked about? One in particular that's orange. Beta carotene, I heard somebody say it. So beta carotene is really good for your eyes. So salmon berries have a lot of beta carotene in them. So they're good for your eyes. When it passes through your digestive system, we talked about that. It comes with its own fertilizer that then deposits itself back into the ground and it grows that way. So we consume the berry part, but then the nutrients come from us. So we work together because we're part of the ecosystem together. Since time immemorial, humans have been consuming and interacting with berries. I don't want to really talk about the indigenous purposes for them because I am a settler colonial and I don't want to talk about something that I don't have any participation in. And I don't want to, appropriate that kind of knowledge. So, in settler colonial lens, we have always found a way to use them besides eating them raw. Preservation techniques, you can dehydrate them, you can preserve them into jams and jellies, and I have some recipes in the zine that I will pass out in a moment, but not yet. So we use them besides food purposes. They have a lot of different medicinal purposes. Probably shouldn't speak to that because it's probably indigenous knowledge. However, the biochromia, besides being high in vitamins, you can use them for different types of dyes and inks. So later we're going to be doing some tie-dye. I wonder if we can find some onion skins or berries that we can use for dyeing our clothes as well. They're also very easy to grow or forage for. One of my main things that I really like to promote is growing your own food, being self-sustainable. Especially in this area where we live in, we have a very huge we have lots of berry farms, and when you grow or forage for your own berries, that's also ensuring that you're not unknowingly supporting something that might infringe on basic human rights. So workers tend to be of immigrant status a lot of the times, and Driscoll nearby has had a lot of crackdowns lately on taking advantage of immigrants and that whole issue. Foraging skills and cultivation, you can strengthen and grow your communities. So by sharing this information with other people that you're friends with or people who are in your family, you can forage together and show them a little bit of berry identification, and that can strengthen your bond and strengthen the community around you. So I hope everybody has their journals. Go ahead and grab out your journal. And a writing utensil. See a lot of journals out. So the prompt today is, let's see, prompt. What did I just do? Maybe? Stay. Prompt. Foraging for berries. Or growing your own. Does this have value? Is this valuable to you? Do you think you will share this information with other people? And why or why not? I'll give you 7 minutes. That's a good between 5 and 10. 7 minutes. So finally, turn to somebody sitting next to you, and if you would like to, I invite you to share what you wrote with them.
Yeah.
I talked about,
Yeah, no, so
I don't know if this is on the thing, but I talked about how both, like, propagating and foraging are natural. Like, I think humans have always, like, we have this idea that, like, indigenous peoples didn't, like, plant because they didn't, you know, we don't think of them as, like, formalized gardens, but they totally changed the demographic of plants in that area, like, harvest of camas and berries. So I think people have always, like, purposefully propagated plants that they liked and ones that they didn't. And I also think that both are really, like, teach you so much. Like, foraging, I was thinking especially with children, like, how do you teach them which ones are safe and, like, how to recognize which ones they can eat? And then also, like, both you develop a really good relationship with the plant. Like, when you're foraging, you develop gratitude and, like, you learn not to take too much from one plant, and you learn, like, you make a mental map of, like, where the plants grow and what they're like. And then when you garden, too, you see them year round. So, like, if you have raspberry bushes in your yard, you see the whole cycle of bushes, which is really a cool way to know something. So I felt like my answer, as usual, was like, both are good. So, yeah. What did you all talk about?
Had a really similar thing. Mine was like, I have positive memories of both, and like I'm really hoping to like incorporate both more into my life in the future. Like I'd love to grow my own like local berries and things like that. And I also love the idea of like going out and foraging, and like some of my favorite memories, like working with kids or like getting to take them out and like try things in the woods. Like this is safe, you should eat it because it's awesome and delicious. And like at Marston, they were just like, we get all these Himalayan blackberries. Sam Top was up here, so like we'd go out and it would be like the secret blackberry missions, and we'd like go out and pick as many blackberries as we possibly could and eat all of them. It was so much fun. Or like up here, like kids like before salmon berries are ripe, just like covering their faces with like berry stripes, and like my parents picking up, they're like, I found the berries today. They're like, yes, yep, they did.
And that's such a, like, cool way to get to know them, you know? I love that. I love the blackberry missions. I totally did that as a kid too. Well, and they're so prolific too, you know?
Everywhere. Yeah. So like, how do we get to the ones that are like in the bush without like, you know, hurting ourselves? Yeah, it's fun. But
I wrote a little bit about, I kind of went on a tangent about gardening and how much I want to have a garden. And I was thinking about, like, when I was growing up, we had a huckleberry bush in our backyard. And how, like, I just loved coming back to my backyard and being able to just, my heart's content, and just being a little kid, enjoying a little bush of berries.
Because that's like one of the best educational things is when you can see.
All right, take 1 more minute to wrap up your conversation.
There's something innate in humans.
Yeah.
If you can hear me, kindly look this way. I'm singing a song. All right, so does anybody want to share what they talked about?
This is the point where you want me to say,
This
okay.
is the point where I would like you to share.
Okay, so first of all, for the actual foraging and growing of berries, I talked about how it's a really great way to have like family involvement and have a thing that you do with your friends and your family, and then be able to have kids have responsibilities and have this whole like beautiful garden. But I also was telling Kate about how aggregate berries are really, really close to intertidal stuff with aggregated anemones, which is a lot of what we saw in Susha. And I just had gotten really excited about that and like connecting everything.
Connecting how like our entire biosphere of the earth is so connected. Like I would have never compared a berry to an anemone, but seeing that connection, it just like, it's one more link in our community, our earthly community.
To add to that link, aggregated I think is more of just like a term for things that like are clumped together, because aggregated soil is like things in the soil, like clumps of soil that like allow for like drainage and like just one more link.
So the word aggregate is now becoming like this multi-faceted word. I like that. Am?
Yeah, I wrote a little poem that I can read. I was born on a lullaberry farm nestled amongst the Santa Cruz cypress and salty air blowing west from the great blue Pacific, carrying elephant seal calls from Ani Nuevo State Reserve across Highway 1. Berries ripen and we run amongst the fields, gorging on sour purple fruits. We collect boxes and bake pies. Dad always kept at least 2 gallon Ziplocs full in the freezer so we can bake long after the fruits have dried up on the vines. I lived there till I was 3. I would drive past those fields on my way up the coast. I went back when I was 17 on a trip, and we toured the land owned by Swanton Berry Farm, one of the first worker-owned berry farms in California. I see Tim Hudson, whose family owned the land when we lived there, but a lot of berries are hybrid species and land is indigenous land, but I hold a huge piece of that place with me, and I still think about the cabin falling into the creek.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I love that we can also have like such vivid memories that are surrounded by like, you know, a berry. It's food. Like some people take for granted that like food comes out of the ground. And I too have a lot of memories that are like revolving around berries. Rose, did you want to share?
Yeah. I started thinking about like what are the barriers to so many people foraging or growing their own fruit, and sort of thinking about like what would it look like to create a system that encourages that more than it currently does, so that like there's like personally I have memories of eating strawberries out of my cousin's yard and of going to the raspberry farms to pick things and like remembering, and I vividly remember my first time here at the Outback like watching a strawberry go from a flower to a fruit and just like what a profound experience that was. And I know like as I've shared that that's something a lot of people haven't experienced, and wondering how do we, because it's such a romantic idea of everybody going out and foraging and eating berries, and like how do we create like what would it look like if that was a reality for more people, and how could we create that, and is that something that we need, and what like just I just have a lot of questions. It makes me curious and excited because berries are really cool and powerful, and it's a really amazing way to connect to a place, and such sweet love fruit. Like yeah, how do we make that within reach?
And like blackberries will grow anywhere.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty intense. Real thick canes, huge thorns, lots of spiders. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Anna, last one?
About the worms?
What?
Oh, the worms. The berries, the blackberries. These bugs, I think they're flies, fruit flies, lay their eggs inside of the blackberry flowers. And so if you're out in the late season, you open up a really ripe blackberry, there's little tiny worms inside, and that many of us don't even realize. We're just in there. They don't hurt you, just don't even think about it.
It's for protein. Yeah.
Is the moral of the story to keep eating them or to look for them?
Keep eating them and look for them.
Look for many.
So I made this zine. There are enough for TAs. I made sure to do that. So go ahead and take one and pass it around. So I put on them some common native berries that you can find in the arb or any sort of forested space that you have nearby. Does anybody need a refresher on how to fold a zine? Okay, I will do that. It's like a lot of places, and they're edible and important.
And they're delicious.
And technically, yeah, they are fruit.
What does it mean by slight irritation?
Did y'all get one already?
It'll make it like a little bit.
That's not me.
When you lay
Oh,
it down,
definitely.
it's so sweaty.
Yeah.
Is
that geranium?
Really? Maybe I was having
Mountains and valleys. Fold it like a mountain.
Yeah, I don't think that great.
Okay, just fold it all
All right, so the most important part of folding a zine is making nice crispy edges, and you can do so using your fingernails. On each line that goes perpendicular, you're going to want to make a nice crispy fold on each line. So what is that? Widthwise?
Yeah.
And then same thing again. So you'll have on one side the front and the back, and on the other side you'll have my disclaimer about being a settler colonist and the Oregon grape. Then you can do the magical tearing bit by either super crispy folding, or you can do a little saliva magic there. And you're only going to tear the section that is above the rules and the Oregon grape. So you're only going to tear gently this along this line. Go slow. And if you mess up, that's okay. So you're going to wind up with it looking like this. Once you have it like this, you can show me if you need the next step. You got it like this. So then have the blank side face your face. Fold it hot dog. And you're going to sort of pinch it so that the open mouth forms like this, like a plus sign. It does require a little bit of magic. And then you're going to stack all of the little mini pages now so that you wind up with cover on the front and some notes on the back. Explore using them either by eating them or using their parts to make something else. The only one that I have notes on is the elderberry. You must cook it before you eat it, and that is noted there. And the rose hips, I would recommend removing the hairs that are inside. I've eaten them just straight before and was fine, but they can cause a little scratchiness, a little itchiness. Any questions? All right, that concludes my lessons. Berries feeding ecosystem. And I would love some feed forward up this time.
Very good.